Hello everyone, I am Frets B. Godinez and Wonderboy in Cebu, second-year college student in Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration. Welcome to my next video. So before we proceed, kindly click subscribe button and click the notification bell button to know more about my video. My topic for today's video is all about the miscellaneous provision and harbor regulations related to customs in CMO number 22010 or the Customs Memorandum Order. So now let's get started. First is Section 20. Certificate for quarantine cargo. When cargo manifested for any port in the Philippines is retained on board the importing vessel by order of the quarantine officer or any other officer authorized to issue such order, the customs inspector on board, after verifying said cargo, shall make a certificate of constructive lading as to the bill of lading. Next is Section 21. Use of boarding watercraft. The customs senior boarding officer shall not permit anyone to go with the customs boarding watercraft upon departure from pier except customs inspectors and customs guards duly assigned to vessels to be boarded, customs inspectors and customs guards assigned by the Chief, Bay Service Section, or its equivalent office to substitute for absent personnel, and those especially granted in writing by the Chief. Piers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office may be given the privilege to use the boarding watercraft. Next is Section 23. Vessel clearing for foreign ports applying for bunkers. The customs inspector on board of a vessel clearing for foreign ports and applying for bunkers shall require the master to transmit together with his application the usual affidavit containing the following: 1. Name and nationality of vessel. 2. Amount of fuel oil availably on board for its propulsion at time of entry. 3. Vessel's daily consumption of oil at sea. 4. Vessel's daily consumption of oil in port. 5. Port or ports of call during the voyage and duration of vessel's stay at each port. And 6. The amount of bunkers applied for. Section 24. Unloading of cargo by distressed vessel. A distressed vessel in port desiring to unload cargo for the duration of the vessel's sojourn thereat may be issued a permit to discharge her cargo upon written request of the master or agent, approved by the collector of customs under such terms and conditions he may deem proper. If the cargoes discharged will be cleared or entered in the port where they are discharged, the unloading of this class of cargo shall be subject to the rules and regulations prescribed for cargoes destined or the port. Unless authorized by a shipside discharge permit, such cargoes shall be discharged unto the pier. If discharged into lighters, such lighters must be of that close type and must be secured, locked and sealed with customs seal and must remain under guard until final disposition thereof is made. Section 25. Ship's mail. Ship's mail shall be examined as they are being tasked from the ship, and all mails addressed to persons other than the agents of the vessel shall be delivered to the mail clerk. Any dutiable articles or merchandise other than mail found in the mail bags shall be subject to duties and taxes or seizure. Section 26. Laborers and ship's laundry. All stevedores, laborers and other persons of similar status shall be thoroughly searched by, or under the immediate supervision of, the customs inspector on board, upon their leaving the vessel, and such person found with pilfered articles or those not authorized for discharge in his person shall be arrested. For bundles of clothing, ship's liner, laundry, etc., which are to be taken ashore for laundering, a list shall be prepared by the inspector who shall check them against such list upon their return on board, so that the corresponding duties and or taxes may be assessed and collected in those unaccounted for before the vessel sails. Next is Section 27. Seizures. The customs inspector or customs guard making seizures shall deliver to the owner or the claimant, and if unclaimed, to the master of the vessel, a receipt describing the articles seized. He shall forward immediately the articles seized together with seizure report and transfer note to the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office. Next is Section 28. Arrests. Upon searching a vessel or any person on board thereof, the customs inspector or customs guard on board is authorized and required to search, arrest, and even detain, conformably with law, any person found committing act or acts contrary to law. When a person is apprehended under such circumstances, the customs inspector on board shall conduct an informal investigation, after termination whereof, the person arrested together with the evidence shall be turned over to the Enforcement and Security Service (ESS) for appropriate action. A report in detail, showing the name of the person arrested, the reason for the arrest, and action taken, shall be submitted without delay to the Chief, Pearson Inspection Division or its equivalent office. Section 29. Small boats alongside vessels. Small boats, authorized by DEPA to engage in ferry services, may be permitted to come alongside the vessel. A customs guard shall be stationed at all times while the small boat, launch or any water draft is alongside, and it shall be thoroughly searched before being permitted to depart. Section 30. Customs guards for vessels lying alongside. A customs guard shall be detailed by the customs inspector on board of a vessel when another vessel is lying alongside, whose duty shall be to see that no contraband articles or merchandise is passed from one vessel to the other. This duty shall be arranged in rotation, so that the vessel will be under continuous surveillance until its departure. Section 31. Heaving anchor in sail. Upon receipt of a notice of clearance, the customs inspector on board shall allow the vessel to heave anchor in sail. But if, for any reason, the ship does not leave and remains in port for more than 48 hours after the time of departure indicated in the clearance, the master or agent shall be required to secure from the customs clearance officer an extension of time for departure, without which the original clearance shall be of no force or effect. And the next one is Section 32. Repair of vessel equipment. Upon the filing of a bond under Guard Sec. 105 of the Tariff and Customs Code of the Philippines, as amended guaranteeing their re-exportation, and approved by the Collector of Customs, the landing of sails, casks, chronometers and other portions of the vessel's equipment for the purpose of having them repaired shall be permitted. The customs inspector shall describe the articles or equipment so released in sufficient detail to enable easy and ready identification upon their return. Section 33. Conversion of vessel status. A. From foreign to coastwise. Vessels of foreign status may be converted to a coastwise status after the following requirements are fully complied with and submitted to the Collector of Customs through the Customs Clearance Officer as per requisite to the issuance of clearance. 1. Certification from the concerned office of the Bureau that importentry had been filed and duties and taxes had been paid and or secured to be paid. 2. Certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. 3. Certification from the Chief, Pearson Inspection Division and Chief, Bay Service Section or their equivalent offices with the Enforcement and Security Service ESS as member of the searching team, that the vessel has been fully searched for contraband cargoes, indicating therein the results of the searching mission. 4. Certification from the shipping agency attested by the customs inspector on board that all foreign cargoes are fully discharged from vessel. 5. Inventory list of ships, stores and saloons and crew declaration list shall be duly accomplished, signed by the master of the vessel and attested by the customs inspector on board. Such vessel shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance is issued by the office of the Deputy Collector for Operations. B. From coastwise to foreign. Vessels of coastwise status may be converted to a foreign status subject to the following requirements. 1. Certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. 2. Duly processed export declarations or permits. Section 34. Letters to collector. The customs senior boarding officer shall collect all letters in the vessel's possession addressed to the collector of customs and transmit them without delay to the customs house. Next one is Section 35. Refuse and garbage. No refuse, garbage and the like shall be thrown or jettisoned inside any harbor, more especially while the ship is alongside piers, all damaged and rotten. Cargo shall be disposed of upon arrangement and permission of the Collector of Customs on the area designated by said official or duly authorized representative after consultation with the Philippine Coast Guard and or the Department of Environment and Natural Resources DENR. Master of vessels desiring to load or discharge ballast shall first obtain permission from the Collector of Customs or surveyor of the port and shall obey the instruction given them by the harbor master as to where the ballast shall be taken from or discharged, as the case may be. Section 36. Firearms, care, and USE. Care should be exercised in the use of firearms. The unnecessary display of firearms is prohibited. An employee should remember that the law will hold him personally responsible for the results of the use of firearms by him. A weapon should not be drawn or used except in self-defense or to prevent commission of a felony. While it is not intended that an officer or employee should jeopardize his own life or the life of an associate when danger threatens, it is intended that extreme caution and cool deliberation control his actions. Officers and employees shall not be permitted to carry firearms while on duty until they have been thoroughly instructed in proper care and use of such weapons. All firearms will be inspected by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office periodically to see that they are kept in condition for proper use. All sidearms must be holstered and properly carried on official duty. Section 37. Instructions relative to discharging, withdrawal and loading of empty containers. 1. Discharging of empty containers. The shipping agent prior to the discharge of empty containers shall furnish the Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office a copy of the approved sequence of discharge and a separate listing of empty containers to be discharged from the carrying vessel for monitoring and aging purposes. 2. Withdrawal of empty containers. The shipping agent concerned shall present a letter request to the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office for withdrawal of empty container from the pier. Once approved, the Deputy Collector for Operations, the Chief, Enforcement Security Service ESS, and the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division shall be furnished copies of the request and the permit of withdrawal issued. The original copy of the approved request with the withdrawal permit shall be forwarded to the officer in charge for the issuance of the gate pass. The customs gatekeepers and customs ESS personnel assigned at the exit gates shall be required to open all empty containers to verify whether they are indeed empty and shall keep records of the approved requests permits issued and report any discrepancy to their respective chiefs of offices. 3. Loading of empty containers. Prior to the loading of empty containers on board carrying vessel, the shipping agent concerned shall apply for a special permit to load SDL in a letter application made for that purpose at the Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent officer (it) shall be the responsibilities of the Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office to physically inspect every empty container brought into and loaded onto the port and to verify if indeed the same is empty as represented by the concerned parties. The empty container shall be inspected upon their arrival into or after their unloading to the port and not when these empty containers are being loaded into the carrying vessel. For this purpose, the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall coordinate with the concerned shipping agent and the arrestor operator for the segregation of these empty containers and for their inspection while in the port. In approving the authority to load empty containers, the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall ensure that the empty containers specified therein have already been duly inspected. Accordingly, the approval of the authority to load is also his confirmation that the Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office has conducted the required inspection and that the containers covered by such authority have been verified to be empty indeed. No further inspection of empty containers, for which an authority to load has already been approved, shall be required during loading of the same, except when otherwise directed in writing by the District Collector of Customs, the Commissioner of Customs, or their duly authorized representatives. The loading inspector concerned shall furnish the customs inspector on board carrying vessel a copy of the SPL with the list of empty containers. He shall, after the duration of loading, also endorse the list of containers loaded on board vessel by reporting it in his ICLDO be submitted to the Export Division or its equivalent office. Section 38. Instructions relative to withdrawal of shut-out containerized export. 1. Withdrawal of shut-out containerized export cargoes. All applications for withdrawal of shut-out containerized export cargo shall be directly filed with the Chief or its equivalent office. Spot checking of the contents of the subject containers shall no longer be required, but instead following precautionary measures shall be undertaken. A. The application to withdraw shut-out containerized export cargo shall be accompanied at all times by the following. 1. Certification of the shipping agent concerned attesting to such fact. 2. An equipment interchange receipt and 3. A copy of export declaration or permit or inquiry. B. The spot checking shall be confined only to determine whether the original shipping agent seal affixed after the stuffing operations is intact. C. In case the containerized export cargoes are deliveries from EP, which fact shall be indicated in the application, the same shall not be withdrawn, unless accompanied by a customs guard who shall guard same until the shipment is received by the assigned customs warehouseman or customs storekeeper at the For this purpose, the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall coordinate with the Chief, Bonded Warehouse Operating Division concerned forth under guarding requirements. In case the particular is not indicated in the application, the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall have a complete file of all active and accredited members obtained from each cooperating division for reference purposes. Section 39. Shifting of cargoes. Shipping agents shall submit a written request for shifting of cargoes to the office of the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 40. Devanning, stripping and stuffing. Consignee shall submit a written request for devanning, stripping and stuffing to the office of the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 41. Direct Totric transfer. For direct transfer a container or cargo from vessel to truck, consignee customs broker shall submit a written request to the office of the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or equivalent office, which in turn shall recommend its approval to the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 42. Overtime permit. All requests for overtime work by Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office personnel other than those regular activities mentioned in this manual shall be recommended by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office and approved by the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 43. Discharging off vessel sludge. All requests for discharging off vessel sludge shall be recommended by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office and approved by the Deputy Collector for Operations. Sample of sludge shall be taken by the Customs Examiner from Formal Entry Division or its equivalent office for examination purposes. Section 44. Bunkering permit. All requests for vessel bunkering or refueling shall be recommended for approval by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office to the Chief, Port Operations Service, UOC. And the last one is Section 45. Leisure racing yacht. The boarding formalities will as far as practicably apply to leisure crafts, yachts, foreign fishing vessels and local fishing vessels from abroad. This provision shall include all vessels arriving in the country that are participants of regattas or similar competitions. During boarding formalities, the master or owner of the yacht or other similar vessels shall manifest or state its intention or purpose of its journey in the Philippines. He must indicate if its voyage is for pleasure or indicate intended period of stay in the Philippines, conversion from foreign to coastwise, payment of duties and taxes or conduct of business in the Philippines. Next topic is all about the 4 harbor regulations related to customs. A. Vessel entering port. 1. All vessels entering any port of entry or coastwise in the Philippines shall show their colors and signal their official numbers or letters, and such signals shall be kept flying till the vessel is boarded by the proper officials. All vessels within 2 miles before arriving at designated quarantine anchorage shall display their aforementioned signals. 2. When mail is to be discharged, the vessel shall inform the port authorities by the prescribed signal at the earliest opportunity. B. Flag signals or calls. 1. At the Philippine ports, infantry signals will be responded to and from the customs house or pilot signal tower. 2. The following signals or calls shall be used in all Philippine ports: infantry. A. Customs International Code flags E and C. At night 3 or for short blasts of whistle and waving of light. B. Quarantine International Code flag Q at the 4. C. Pilot International Code flag G or PT. At night 1. The pyrotechnic light, commonly known as a blue light, every 15 minutes. 2. A bright white light flashed or show at short frequent intervals just above the hull for about a minute at a timer. 3. The International Code signal PT by flashing light. D. Explosives or inflammables International Code flag B at the 4. E. Medical Assistance International Code FIAG or customs call. F. Contagious or infectious disease International Code flags EZ. Death Customs and Quarantine calls all International Code flags E and L. H. Distress by day International Code flags and C or gun or other explosive signals. fired at intervals of about a minute, or the distress signal consisting of a square flag having either above or below it a ball or anything resembling a ball. At night, 1. A gun or other explosive signal fired at intervals of about a minute. 2. Flames on the vessel as from a burning tar, barrel, oil barrel, etc. Or 3. Rockets or shells, throwing stars of any color or description, fired one at a time, at short intervals. I. MIL International Code Flag. Y. J. Waterboat International Code Flags or C. or FUK. PID ES's Customs Call. L. Harbor Master International Code Flags. IET. M. Maneuvering International Code Flag. D. At night. C. Quarantine requirements. Deaths, illness or accidents involving physical to any person on board a vessel in a harbor shall be at once reported to the Lector of Customs and Quarantine Officer. D. Repair or dry docking off vessels. No repairs except minor ones shall be allowed on any vessel in a port without the permission of the Collector of Customs or the Deputy Collector for operations as well as its transfer to designated place of dry docking, and shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance. For dry docking the following documents are required. A. Searching and inventory report. B. Approval from the Office of the Deputy Collector for Operations. C. Certification from contractor scope of work and duration of repair. E. Sunken vessel. Whenever the navigation off any harbor or navigable river tributary thereto shall be obstructed by any sunken vessel, boat, watercraft or other similar obstruction has existed for a period longer than 30 days or whenever abandonment can be established in a less space of time, the sunken vessel, boat, watercraft, or other obstruction may be broken up, removed, sold, or otherwise disposed of by the Collector of Customs, in his discretion, at the expenses of the owner, provided, however, that if navigation of a waterway is prevented or seriously endangered by any obstruction, the Collector of Customs may cause its removal immediately and before the expiration of 30 days at the expense of the owner thereof. F. Lighters or tugs and other watercraft. Lighters shall not be tied nor removed from alongside a vessel without permission of Customs Inspector on board such vessel. G. Police authority performed by Customs officers. 1. Custom officers have power to arrest within harbor limits persons violating customs, immigration and navigation laws and regulations and persons committing crimes or breaches of the peace. Such arrest shall be reported without delay to their superior officer. 2. Any person who assaults, resists, opposes or interferes in any manner with a customs officer in the discharge of his duty shall be liable, and subject to the penalties prescribed by law. H. Rat guards. 1. When any vessel either off foreign or Philippines registry is at any dock, pier, wharf, quay or bulkhead, such vessel shall take proper precautions to prevent the passage of rodents to or from the vessel. The vessel shall be fended off from the pier, wharf, quay, bulkhead, or dock not less than 6 feet, and acceptable rat guards, as prescribed, shall be fixed on all connecting lines, and in addition all cargo nets, chutes and similar devices extending between the vessel and shore structure shall be removed at night unless in actual use, as shall all gangways and ladders unless guarded or properly lighted. 2. The master of any vessel off foreign registry or Philippine registry engaged in foreign trade, whether lying alongside a pier, dock, quay, wharf or bulkhead, or in the stream, shall have suitable rat guards placed on all linens between idle lighters or small boats or other carriers and the vessel, which must be so fastened that guard will remain at right angles to and tight on the line. 3. No cargo shall be discharged from or received on board a vessel lying alongside a pier, wharf, quay, dock or bulkhead or in the stream, before suitable rat guards have been placed on all the lines loading from the carriers to the vessel and from the vessel to the pier, wharf, quay, dock or bulkhead, except in the case of coastwise vessels handling coastwise cargo to or from barges, lighters, or other carriers, or from barges, lighters, or other carriers, when the rat guard requirement on lines between vessel and carrier may be dispensed with. I. Other special anchorages. Likewise, all other boats and watercrafts are prohibited to anchor or to linger around any vessel, whether moored at a pier or archered in the harbor at a distance of less than 50 meters from said vessel, unless especially authorized by the Collector of Customs. J. Specific regulation. 1. No empty lighters or carriers shall lie at night alongside a Philippine government pier or alongside a vessel moored thereto, nor shall empty lighters or carriers be attached to such pier or vessel by cables or ropes or attached to loaded or partly loaded carriers which may be alongside or fastened to such pier or vessel. 2. Empty lighters or carriers alongside or attached to such pier or vessel during daytimes shall be removed therefrom before nightfall. 3. The provisions contained in paragraph 1 and 2 above hereof shall not apply to carriers partially laden with import or export cargo or to empty carriers which may have been or prepared or which are preparing to receive cargo from a pier or vessel when delivery from a pier or discharge off a vessel during nighttime has been duly authorized. 4. Any vessel or other watercraft in the Philippine harbor shall, when a case of sickness occurs on board, immediately hoist the regulation quarantine flag yellow and keep the same flying until boarded and passed upon by an inspector off quarantine bureau. The flag shall be of sufficient size and so placed as to be plainly visible. And that's all of my topic. Thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell button.